My name is Ernest M. Keeling. Welcome to this comment and poem on the genocide in Gaza. What we have seen in Gaza over the past 10 months are actions of a neo-Nazi army acting on behalf of the neo-Nazi state of Israel, which pretends to be democratic. A falsehood reinforced by unconditional support by genocide Joe UK PM Keir Starmer, who thought it fine for Israel to cut off essential supplies of power and water to Palestinians. Zionist files Chancellor Olaf Scholz and EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Though Biden has been forced to step down from re-election, this senile octogenarian will still be in charge until the new president takes over. Why? If he's not fit to stand for re-election, he should resign completely. Also, his genocide has been fully endorsed by VP Kamala Harris, now nominated to succeed him. She stands full square in the Zionist camp, so despite any crocodile tears she may shed for Palestinians in Gaza or the occupied West Bank, we shouldn't expect too much of her. We should not be afraid to use the N-word if it looks like a Nazi, walks like a Nazi, talks like a Nazi, persecutes like a Nazi, clears the ghetto like a Nazi, commits summary and mass executions like a Nazi, buries people in mass graves like a Nazi, thinks it is chosen like a Nazi, abuses disabled people like a Nazi, sets dogs on Palestinians like a Nazi. It's a Nazi. All Palestinians must be free from the river to the sea. On 24 July, war criminal Netanyahu addressed the US Congress, invited by Republican Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, a right-wing Christian fundamentalist, anti-abortionist and Old Testament creationist, who contested the results of the 2020 presidential election on the House floor and in court. Fanatics like Johnson put US politics into crisis. Sadly, there are many more like him who gave the crazy war criminal fulsome support with constant standing ovations. A neo-Nazi speaking to his fascist support base, many of whom form part of the fanatic evangelical lobby which underpins support for Trump and Zionist Israel. The USA, which conceitedly thinks itself a force for good in the world, whose psyche is genocidal in nature, never learns from its past. Genocide in Vietnam, invading Afghanistan and Iraq, supporting tin pot dictators and death squads throughout the world during the 20th century, now supporting genocide in Gaza with unlimited supplies of WMD, including supporting war crimes on hospitals and schools, sheltering displaced Palestinian civilians, where victims are mostly women and children. Also, when VP Kamala Harris shook the bloody hands of Netanyahu in Washington, it did not bode well for suffering Palestinians. It is astonishing to see Biden falling in with war criminal Netanyahu's war aims, which are a recipe for permanent war and to keep himself in power when Israelis want a ceasefire and release of captives. This madman's grand design is to bomb the peace process and ignite a regional war which senile Joe will fall into. To this end, with US support, he attacks regional capitals, Beirut killing Hezbollah commander Fuad Shukr, and Tehran assassinating the Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh, the partner in so-called peace talks. Stupid Joe meekly falls in line, allowing this rabid Rottweiler run amok in the region while claiming he does not wish to see a wider war and at the same time maneuvers US troops in place to protect Israel. Finally, what was the origin of that highly sophisticated missile that ended the life of Ismail Haniyeh? For Democrats in Congress, it is fair to point out that half of them boycotted Netanyahu's speech, and the only member of Palestinian origin, Rashida Tlaib, present and wearing a keffiyeh, held a placard which simply read, "War Criminal." Meanwhile, on DC streets, anti-Netanyahu genocide Joe protesters held a day of rage. On 3 July 2024, Shujaiya, Gaza City, Nazi soldiers raided the home of the Bhar family as a large group of them broke in with a dog, smashing everything. Mother of the family, Nabila Bhar, informed them that her son Muhammed was disabled and asked them to keep the dog away from him, a plea they ignored. Nabila to the BBC: "We were under siege for 7 days. The tanks and soldiers were all around the house. Muhammad was staying on a sofa, and he didn't like sitting anywhere except for there. He would panic and say, 'I'm scared, scared.' He would say, 'Hey, hey,' thinking that someone wanted to hit him. He was always scared, fearful. We would come around him, comfort him. He didn't understand much." Nabila describes the mauling. "The dog attacked him, biting his chest and then his head. Muhammad didn't speak, only muttering, 'No, no, no.' The dog bit his arm and the blood was shed. I wanted to get to him, but I couldn't. No one could get to him. And he was patting the dog's head, saying, 'Enough, my dear, enough.' In the end, he relaxed his hand and the dog started tearing at him while he was bleeding. The soldiers then separated Muhammad from his family. Further testimony from Nabila Bhar. They took him away, put him in a separate room and locked the door. We wanted to see what happened to him. We wanted to see Muhammad, to see what had become of him. They told us to be quiet and aimed their guns at us. They put us in a room by ourselves, and Muhammad was alone in another room. They said, "We will bring a military doctor to treat him." A doctor arrived, but Muhammad's family were still kept away from him, and after several hours were ordered to leave the house at gunpoint, leaving Muhammad behind with the soldiers. They protested, and 2 of his brothers were arrested who still haven't been released. The family found shelter in a nearby ruined building and were only allowed to return to their house a week later. When they returned, they took video of what they found, which they later shared with the BBC, who described it as follows. Muhammad's body is lying on the floor. There is blood around him and a tourniquet on his arm. This was most probably used to stop heavy bleeding from his upper arm. Jibril points to gauze used to bandage a wound and remarks on the blood that clotted after the tourniquet was applied. Jibril is Muhammad's brother who took the video and said the following to the BBC. They were trying to stop the bleeding. Then they left him without stitches or care, just these basic first aid measures. Of course, as you can see, Muhammad was dead for a period of time already because he was abandoned. We thought he wasn't at home, but it turned out he had been bleeding and left alone at home all this time. Of course, the army left him. Because of the intense warfare waged by Nazi forces, Muhammad's family were unable to give him a proper burial, provide a post-mortem, or obtain a death certificate. They were forced to bury him in an alley as it was too dangerous to take him to a mortuary. During the week Muhammad's family were forcibly separated from him, they contacted the Red Crescent, requesting them to treat him, but they were refused safe access by the Nazi army. Nabila Bhar, in a statement to the BBC, described the final moments she had with her son. This scene I will never forget. I constantly see the dog tearing at him and his hand, and the blood pouring from his hand. It is always in front of my eyes, never leaving me for a moment. We couldn't save him, neither from them nor from the dog. Nota bene, lines in the poem between inverted commas are taken from the statement made by Nabila Bhar. Copyright. This villanelle is titled Death by Nazi Dogs. The dog attacked him, biting his chest and then his head. Sadistic Nazi soldiers were out for kicks. The dog bit his arm and the blood was shed. Terrified, disabled, unable to comprehend, Muhammad's in shock while Nazis make sport. The dog attacked him, biting his chest and then his head. No one could reach him. his mother said. At gunpoint, Nazi soldiers kept family away. The dog bit his arm, and the blood was shed. By definition, Nazis are impossible to defend. Pitiless, they left Muhammed to bleed away. The dog attacked him, biting his chest and then his head. Nazi DNA is a double helix impaired, where pure bestiality lines the mold. The dog bit his arm, and the blood was shed. Genocide Joe, the ultimate reaper of death, Stam, Schultz, von der Leyen, shared the same stinking bed. The dog attacked him, biting his chest and then his head. The dog bit his arm, and the blood was shed. Thank you for listening, and God arrest America. If you enjoy poetry or the channel, you are welcome to like, share, subscribe.